Spider-Man No Way Home review. Today I'll be discussing the latest Spider-Man movie and how actually amazing it really is. Of course, this is going to be a no spoiler review and no spoilers here, so you can watch this before you see the movie. Alright, so Spider-Man No Way Home is a continuation from Far From Home and how everyone finds out Spider-Man's identity. Accurate, I think it will be, for everyone to find out a superhero's identity, which has been quiet for so long, is actually impressive. Begins off with everyone finding out who Spider-Man is and how the police get involved and how Mysterio framed Spider-Man in a way and how he's have to deal with the problems of killing Mysterio. What was shown were the villains from previous Spider-Man movies like Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, Sandman and Goblin. They were all shown in the trailer, and for them to be in this movie brings a lot of hype, and them to be in this movie is amazing. I was actually personally really excited to see them, and more excited actually to see this movie than I was to see Endgame, which just says a lot. And the villains in this movie were portrayed so good. The spotlight wasn't all on them, it was on Spider-Man himself. It wasn't overshown by the villains and how they've returned to the big screen. It actually felt like a Spider-Man film, more so than the previous two Tom Holland films. They were good, don't get me wrong, but this one actually has like a wow factor to it, as he's just fighting villains in the past 2 minutes. No one really cares about that. It's got so many villains in it, so there's a lot going on, but you're able to keep up and you're able to understand what's happening. The pacing of the movie overall was actually pretty smooth. It wasn't fast paced, it wasn't too slow. It was going at a good pace. It's a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, I think, and it didn't feel like that. In fact, every second of that movie I enjoyed, so time just went so fast. Because I mentioned how much is really going on in this movie, and there is a lot of stuff happening. There's so much to comprehend at once, and there's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of stuff happening, and it's a really entertaining throughout. No point did I look away from the screen. I was constantly looking at it, thinking I'm gonna miss something important, which is very hard to do. Spider-Man's role in this new movie was actually surprising because the spotlight was still on him. You'd think all these people coming to the movie, these big names returning, and you'd think, okay, maybe he wouldn't get as much attention, but you can clearly see it's his movie, along with the main other protagonists of MJ and Ned. Them three are the main characters. They're the ones who are literally controlling the film. Of course, Doctor Strange is in there, but he's not as prominent as them. So it really does feel like a Spider-Man movie, which I didn't feel. You don't get the same feeling as the last two. The last two movies, they felt like a Spider-Man movie, don't get me wrong. This one feels closest to Tobey Maguire's movies or Andrew Garfield movies. The last two were different, let's just say. And this one's very unique in its own way. So in this movie, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of, action-packed fight scenes. There's a lot of emotional scenes, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of story building on the characters, especially MJ and Peter. Ned, he's just there. But them two, in the past two Spider-Man films, Peter's been like some Iron Man Jr., let's just say. He's been in Iron Man's shadow. But in this movie, coming out of it, he's a man. He's his own person. He's Spider-Man now. He's got the spotlight now. In the past two movies, he was kind of in the shadow, but to come out of this movie, he's his own person. So the movie has to be seen in the theaters. If you don't see this movie in the theaters, then you're gonna miss out. So when I watched Endgame, the theater was quiet. No one said anything. It was just, you just had the movie. But in this new Spider-Man film, everyone was screaming and was shouting in certain parts, and it's an atmosphere you can't really miss. And I recommend seeing it as soon as possible. You're gonna get people in there who's seeing it for the third time, and they know what's gonna happen, so you won't get those reactions. I've talked about the villains. I've talked about Spider-Man. I haven't talked much about Doctor Strange. I don't want to give too much away about the movie. I want to keep it spoiler free. But overall, I think the movie's worth watching. 100% worth every penny to see that movie. The best Spider-Man film. Actually, scratch that. The best, probably in line with Endgame, Marvel film they've made. It was so good, and it's such... Okay, it didn't have much as a build-up as Endgame, so it's really hard to compare it to, but it was a good film. Overall, I would give it a solid 9.5 out of 10. I think Rotten Tomatoes, on everyone on there is giving it around 95% rating, which is exceptionally good. So, should you watch the movie? Yes, go right now. Go and book tickets. Go and watch the movie. It's amazing, and yeah, you're gonna be happy coming out. I haven't seen a single negative review on this film, because there is no negatives. There actually is no negatives in this film. There's a lot of stuff going on, so make sure you're constantly watching. Don't leave to go to the toilet. Make sure you go toilet before you go to the movie. Go watch Spider-Man. Hope you enjoyed the review. Alright, subscribe.